Hello YouTube, this is Sean again, and we're going to go over something really amazing and probably one of my favorite groups of animals. Of course, second to owls, of course. But we're going to be going over bats, and in there is not a single animal in the world that isn't as amazing to me as a bat. I mean, they help people in so many different ways, but they get almost no credit for any of it. So, without further ado, I believe we're going to get started on this wonderful look into the lives of bats. Now, bats are the largest order of mammals after rodents. Second largest order of mammals in the world, of course, after rodents, since they're everywhere. Literally just gross. And they represent about 20% of all classified mammal species in the world. I mean, if you're one group and you represent 20% of all mammal species, you're winning. You're winning this whole like world conquering thing. There are about there are about 1,240 species of bats, and divided into and all. Okay, wait, sorry, I'm getting way too ahead of myself. There are about there are about 1,240 species of bats, and these bats are grouped into two categories: megabats, which are less specialized and mostly fruit eating, and then you have the echolocating bats, which are called the microbats. So you have those two different sides. Now we're first going to look into the microbats. They eat small flying night bugs like mosquitoes, moths, others. Some even eat eat locusts and crickets and grasshoppers. And there are some species that have really like evolved to catch even weirder things. For example, frogs and fish. And then you have the megabats, which mostly eat ripe fruit and nectar. And I mean that's a pretty simple thing. They fly around in the rainforest. Look, ooh, mango. Go eat the mango. Yay! Or flying around. Ooh, this flower smells really good. Go drink the nectar. Wonderful. Um, on microbats, an ordinary brown bat can eat up to 100% of their body weight each night. Now this goes into the trade-off, which I might as well do a video on trade-off for bats, but the trade-off for the ability to fly. Because flight isn't inexpensive. You have to be able to be light and high energy, and that's a very hard thing to do in any sort of situation. So basically, they've evolved to be able to need to eat a lot, but they're really light to be able to fly. And brown bats, they've mastered this. An ordinary brown bat can eat to 100% of their body weight each night, which is about half an ounce. They consume approximately 1,200 insects per hour, including moths, gnats, crickets, beetles, locusts, mosquitoes, fruit flies, and other flying bugs. Other bats eat fruit and nectar and can play an important role as pollinators, as I was talking about with the flying foxes or megabats. But we're going to go into one of the cool ones. There are only three out of the 1,240 species, only three species of bats drink blood. Only two. Only two, really, Sean. Only three. I made it very apparent. At least like four times I said only three. Um, Only three of them drink blood. None of these species live in the United States. All of them are found from Mexico down to Argentina. That's the range of the three species. And they're the common vampire bat, the hairy-legged vampire bat, and the white-winged vampire bat. Common vampire bats live mostly off the blood of mammals, very occasionally humans. The hairy-legged vampire bat and the white-winged preferably feed on the blood of birds and like livestock. But one thing that's interesting is white-winged vampire bats will not drink off the blood of cows. They will completely refuse to. I mean, I don't know why, but really interesting. Now on to megabats. The megabats will feed on either the flower itself, the nectar inside the flower, or the insects that are inside the flower. And they pollinate plants like calabash, sausage tree, archaea, Ars, I'm gonna put it on the video, and I want you guys to tell me how it's pronounced because I've never seen that before, and I really want to say Erica, but that sounds wrong. Eric, I'm gonna say it. Erica palm, kapok tree, and banana. And there are over 300 species of fruit that depend specifically on bats for pollination. And one of these fruits, which I'm very near and dear to, are mangoes. I love mangoes. That is the best fruit in the world. You can't tell me anything. Like, I mean, if any like fruit in the world, like I love fruit, and there's mangoes, I will take mangoes over anything else you can hand me. It's all over. I'll take those. Now, off of my little mango tangent, because mangoes are amazing. The flowers that are normally visited by bats. Well, before I go into that, they're beyond the actual like mega bats, for example, the huge flying foxes that live in tropical Africa the and Asia and Australia. There are also some smaller bats that pollinate and eat fruit that are in the Americas. Of course, you won't get the 6 foot long flying fox here, but hey, you get something. And those guys are the pollinating bats are normally attracted by plants and flowers that open at night. For example, your moonflowers or what was that? I forgot what the name of it was. I remember it. Are pale or white in color, are very fragrant or smell like fruit, or have like a fruit-like smell, and have a copious but dilute nectar, meaning that hey, have a lot of nectar, but it's not extremely sweet. It's more so just tons of nectar because if it was really sweet, it would attract more insects. So, I mean, one thing that I learned about that was the main pollinators of, I know this, I know it, honeysuckle. In Oklahoma, honeysuckle is, at least when I was little, I haven't really heard much about it now, but honeysuckle is like the greatest plant to have in your yard because you could go out there and if it was orange, you just pull it, you just like pluck the flower, you pull the stamen out, you just lick the stem of it, and it would taste like honey. So I'm like, I can't even fight that. That's amazing. So, and one thing I did a little research randomly on it like over the summer, and it said that they release most of their scent at night. So I'm like, that's interesting. And that being paired with like the fact that non-pollinated honeysuckles are white, and then once they become pollinated, they turn orange. So I find that really interesting because it says pale or white in color. So, I mean, ingenious, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, I thought that was really cool. Now let's get to the really interesting stuff. The world's largest bat is the flying fox that lives on the islands of the South Pacific, with a wingspan of up to 6 feet. That wingspan is wider than I am tall. I'm like, I think it was 5'9". That's a 6 foot wingspan. Let's just stop and think about that for a second. And this is, of course, one of the mega bats, so it's a fruit-eating bat. Flies around South Pacific. Yeah. Oh, look, fruit. Goes, lands, eats. Yay, it wins. One thing I learned, like, in a little documentary that I watched was that bats, like, when they drink water, what they'll do is they'll actually dive down because they don't, like, directly drink the water. They'll dive down and they'll, like, splash their stomachs on the water and then go up and they'll lick the water off of themselves because, I mean, when you have to keep flying to move, like, keep flying, you don't really have the time to hover and, like, try and drink the water. You have to be able to get it on your body, land, and then drink it from there. I thought that was really cool. Now we talked about the largest. Let's talk about the smallest. And I swear to God, this is like the cutest living thing ever. The world's smallest bat is the Bumblebee Bat of Thailand, which is smaller than a thumbnail. than a thumbnail and weighs less than a penny. Oh my god, I need this thing in my life. I just want to see. I want to hold it. I want to hold it. It's gonna be like itty bitty. I I need to see this. I need to see it. I mean, I know there are like a whole lot of really cool stuff, like really cool things in nature. Like, I mean, I want to see whale sharks, like whale sharks migrating. I want to see, like, I don't know. I just there's so many different things in nature I want to see, but this thing tops the list. After I read that, I need to see a bumblebee bat, and I want to hold one. It is like it's this big. I need to hold this thing in my hands. Oh my god, it's so tiny and fragile and delicate, and it's precious. Okay, no, relax. Jeez. Well, on to a little bit more of the health concerns of. Oh wait, sorry, I'm on that. Um, while other mammals can glide, bats are the only mammals capable of continued flight. And that's completely true. I mean, flying foxes, sugar gliders, and, well, not flying foxes, flying squirrels, actually just gliding. Sugar gliders, in the name. Um, pe- I don't know why I forgot the name of it. Like, I started to say it, and then I went blank mid word. I'm gonna. That's two. That's the second time I've done this in this episode. Normally I only do it once, but I've done it twice. Sean, get your poop in a group. Some bats, while some bats migrate south for the winter, others hibernate through the cold winter months. During hibernation, bats can survive in freezing temperatures, some even being able to survive after being encased in ice. Hands down, bats are amazing. That's a superpower. The ability to survive frozen for months. Like, to sleep and, like, stay frozen for months and just wake up after, like, the ice is melted perfectly fine. That's a superpower that not many animals actually have the ability to do. That's that's amazing. Oh gosh, scratch for scratch. Most bats only have one puppy a year, making them extremely vulnerable to extinction. Bat mothers can find their babies among thousands or millions of other bats by their unique voices and scents, and that is so true. Female like bats, well, bats in general, will be able to locate specific members of their colony by just their sound and scent. I mean, it when everyone is in the same spot and they're all just like running around, and you're able to exactly pinpoint where your child is or where this person is or this one is. That's another amazing superpower that bats have. Um, wow, I'm starting to get a headache, but I don't even care right now. Go, Sean! This is gonna hurt. um, let's see. Bat droppings, called guano, are one of the richest fertilizers. I mean, amazing because it's so high in protein from what they eat. It's so high in nutrients from if they're a whole bunch. There's like a whole bunch of different variables, but it's one of the richest fertilizers. And bat guano was once an actually like a big business, and guano was Texas' largest mineral export before oil at one point. But I mean, I personally wish to go back to that because I'm like, bat guano, easy to get, wonderful fertilizer, great for farming. What's the downside? Gosh, my nose itches and I feel like I'm dying. I have this headache, but I don't even care right now because I really want to tell you guys about bats because they're super amazing. Okay, let me go back up because I skipped a fact. Now, contrary to what most people believe about bats, saying bats are all dirty and they'll give you rabies, while that's tilted true. I say tilted true because in all actuality, only 0.5% of bats carry rabies, and those that do may be clumsy, disoriented, or unable to fly. And the reason I say that is because if you look at some sites, they'll say 6% of all bat species are carry rabies, and that's because of the way that they have to collect them. Normally, they collect bats that are already on the ground, they're already injured, or they're already weak, so they're more susceptible to have the disease. But if you to do it the more complex way and actually catch wild bats, it'd be a much lower percent. You'd get one site said 0.04% of wild caught, like healthy bats, had rabies. So it's more so how they're collecting it and getting this information rather than what the information actually is. So that's the one thing that I'd say is the gray area on bats. And another thing about bats is they're, what is that? Jesus, I felt something on my hand. It's a little scary. Um, they have a specific disease that's attacking and really destroying them in nature, and it's called white nose disease. It invades the nose, mouth, and wings of bats during hibernation when their immune system is already, for the most part, shut down. Research indicates that the fungus may lead to dehydration, causing them to wake up more frequently during hibernation and burn. And burn precious fat reserves. This leads to starvation, and scientists have yet to develop an ecologically appropriate means of combating the fungus, which very likely can kill up to 100% of bats in an infected cave. Because it can spread so easily. I mean, everyone's immune system is already dead, and once one bat has it, it just sort of spreads like wildfire. Um, Two species of nectar-feeding bats, the lesser long-nosed bat and the Mexican long-tongued bat, migrate north 1,000 miles or more every spring from Mexico to Arizona. Arizona? Oh my God, John, you are tired. Jesus, this headache is hitting. Um, Let me retry that. Two species of nectar-feeding bats, the lesser long-nosed bat and the Mexican long-tongued bat, migrate north 1,000 miles or more every spring from Mexico to Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. Both are listed as federally endangered species. So, I mean, you have to be able to think about, hey, this animal pollinates all these fruits and vegetables and trees and flowers. Like, I mean, I love moonflowers. Those are probably the coolest flowers to me. Um, and flowers, and they eat all these insects, and they're endangered. We should really try and do something about that. Um, as more than half the bat species in the U.S. are in severe decline or listed as endangered. In addition to habitat loss, one of the most dire threat comes from the white nose syndrome, and it's a disease that's decimated the bats in the U.S. and Canada. Now, this is probably the greatest thing, like the most important fact. No, not the one I just read, but the one I'm about to read, and it puts things in extreme perspective. If bats were to be completely taken out of the equation in the Western world, they would bats would cost the U.S. agriculture at least $37 billion per year. I mean, if we didn't have bats, that's how much we'd pay in pest control and fertilizers and all the other stuff. We practically rely on bats, but we don't know we do because no one ever stopped to think about, hey, what about the common bat? What's up with that? Like, what's up with why are bats important? What do they do for me? And I mean, whew, bats are. I think bats are the real superheroes of the natural world, and they get little to no credit for anything that they do, and it's really sad because, I mean, this animal has time and time again amazed. It's some species have evolved to catch fish. They eat thousands of mosquitoes a night. They go and they fertilize plants that have no other way to get pollinators, either because they live in places where there aren't many other pollinators there, or because that's the one way that they know how they can get a pollinator to come to them. They supply us with a wonderful fertilizer, and they hardly affect people. Very, very little. And what have we done? We've demonized them. We see three species that drink blood, one of them that can occasionally drink human blood, and we said all bats are bad. They're all evil. They drink blood. Don't mess with them. They're weird. They'd mess with you. They'd kill you. All bats are going to kill you. And that's not true. There's so many wonderful things about bats that we like. There's so many wonderful things about bats, but we stopped when we saw something we didn't like. And that's basically what this little mini series is about. It's about looking deeper into some of the things that we really don't enjoy. And so if you can stop and okay, clean slate. I mean, clean slate. Wipe away any disposition you already had about bats. Wipe away anything you ever thought about bats, and you just stop and look and say, "Hey, that's really cool. Whoa, this is endangered. That there's a 6 foot bat. I mean, it's a vegetarian, so I mean, it's not gonna mess with you." So yeah, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this because I had a whole bunch of fun like researching this. And I did an Instagram live video while I was doing the research, and I had a few people like pop in and say hi, and they asked some questions about bats. So I searched it and I did some more research, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I think that's what I'm gonna do when I do these videos. I'm gonna like research while live, so it's gonna be fun. I feel interested. So yeah, have a wonderful day. Like, comment, subscribe, share. I mean, if you know someone who doesn't really like bats or even doesn't know much about bats, send this to them. If you know someone who knows a lot about bats, send this to them. But I mean, I might feel a little sad if they like call me out on something. But that's what science is. It's the ability to say something and have sources and then be called out on it if one of your sources isn't that true. That's science. So, yeah. Have a wonderful day. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah. Smiley face.